what's going to happen?
Right.
You're going to increase the people.
Exactly.
Because you're going to find out that you can't really, say like if 200 breaking even, you're making 100. You got 100 people in there, which means you're open, but you're not making enough to make it, to pay your payroll.
Correct.
What are you going to do?
Correct.
You're going to bump it up until you at least break even, and maybe then you're going to say, well, maybe let's bump it up a little more so I can take something home.
Exactly.
And so, and you see the discipline that we've been able to show so far, as so that people aren't even doing the minimum when the thing was raging at full speed.
Sure.
So, if we do that, you can rest assured that the rules are going to be broken. People are going to be in full bars and businesses soon. And so, like I said, maybe this is the thinning of the herd that people are talking about, because that's surely what we're going to get. This disease is just going to run. And Mike said 1 million people have been infected. I wonder how he knows it's 1 million when there's 327 million people in the country, and we know the virus is in every state. And
Exactly.
we know that we aren't counting, we aren't testing. So he's being very casual by saying 1 million. It could be 100 million. We don't know how many it's.
Sure.
And that's the danger of where we are now. And if you're going to open up things with that kind of possibility, you just got to be really, really willing to accept what's going to happen to the population when the thing goes, when it goes off.
Sure. Now, one of the things that I was wondering, particularly around this whole thing with the restaurants and things. Number one, I don't know how you're going to enforce all the various restaurants around a particular city to make sure that they are at 25% capacity. That's got to be the honor system, and we all know about that. And I guess the other thing is when you have that many people that are now out and about, I just want to make sure that we make this point. So I could conceivably go into Mike's Pizzeria, sit down and have a pizza and contract this thing and then take it home to my mom and my grandmother, correct?
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Wow. So now let me move on to another point, and then I want to bring in Dr. Hankins, because I want to get his perspective on a couple things. What was the reasoning behind the vice president walking into the Mayo Clinic without a mask on? I'm trying to understand that, because I thought they had various protocols and procedures that have to be followed.
He made it clear.
You want me to address that?
He said he's the vice president. He made it clear.
Right.
I'm the vice president.
That's right. And the reason he wore the mask, didn't wear the mask, is because what would it look like if he put a mask on and his boss is not wearing a mask?
Wow.
And that was his concern, because when he comes on TV all masked up, and then they go back to the White House and he comes out there, people are going to say, oh, so you do wear a mask. You don't agree with the president. And he's not going to have that happen. So that's why he didn't put on his mask.
Well, and the thing that I don't understand is the whole impatience factor. Now, I think all of us want to get out of the house. I was telling you off the air that what we do just to keep ourselves from going crazy, we'll drive out and find a spot. We won't get out of the car. We'll just drive somewhere, ooh and ah, turn around, maybe make some phone calls, call some family and friends, then drive back home, just to get out of the house and break the monotony. I know folks are all over the country. They're walking and doing all the things that they can get away with, before they get back into the quarantine mode. But the thing that really is just so interesting is that there's such a rush to get back out there, and folks appear to be ignoring the science of this whole thing. And that's the problem that I have. I absolutely get it. Nobody wants to get out of the house more than I do and my family does. But I'm just trying to figure out, what is it that is driving this need to just rush this? Like, if we get out and start going to Pizza Hut and going roller skating and we pretend, and it's hot, And that's the other thing I need you to address. Now that it's getting hot, there's an assumption that this thing is going to slow down, Dr. Albright.
Well, what traditionally happens and where that comes from is that the flu traditionally is in the, colder types of year, like going in the fall and winter, and then spring and summer, it kind of goes away. That's why the flu shots, if you notice, are always in, fall before school and all that. So they're just surmising or hoping that this follows the usual pattern of flu. We don't know that. And this may be different because, like we pointed out before, this is the first time this virus has infected humans. So we hope it goes away, but we're not sure because there's not been a flu that's been this devastating for 100 years. So if it doesn't go away, we're up, a creek. So we're just hoping that it follows the normal patterns, but we don't know.
Sure. And
so the heat of the temperature is only a wish or a guess that if it follows the usual pattern, then we'll be okay. It'll go down in the summer, but we have no evidence of that.
And is that the normal? Is that the normal behavior of a virus? That if it gets to heat, it'll slow it down?
Well, not the heat like the president's talking about. It probably is multifactorial, and we don't know exactly why the flu. If you think about it, when have you ever had the flu in the summertime? It's usually in the fall, autumn, or winter. So that's how the pattern is all over. It's not just here; it's all over the world. So they're just hoping that it follows the other flu-like infection, influenza, etc., and that it goes away, during this time of year. But we have no clue whether that's going to happen. We're just hoping that it does that, and that'll give us a break. So there's no science behind those wishes. They are clearly hoping that it does what it usually does.
Sure. Wow. Well, and I guess the one thing that has everyone all abuzz is the and I may be pronouncing this remdesivir, or if I don't know whether I'm pronouncing that right or not, Doc. So please correct me. What is the real story with that? And is that a reactionary thing, or what's the difference between that and an actual vaccine for this thing, Dr. Albright?
Okay, that's a very good question, and I'm dodging the garden and everything, trying to get some quiet. So
okay.
So there are things that we need to know about this whole situation, and I'll kind of help you with that. Now, what we have to be careful of is what actually are we talking about? People are talking about getting tested. What does that mean? Testing is for two things. Testing will tell us, number one, if you have an active infection. And number two, testing can tell us if you've ever had this infection before, like previously. Because if you've had it previously, we're hoping that you have some antibodies built up to fight a recurrence of the infection. So that's antigens and antibodies. Antigens mean that you have the infection right now. Antibodies mean that you had the infection and now you have antibodies in your body to protect you from it coming back. And we're hoping that happens with this virus. And you can't tell a lot of times whether this is a new infection or you never really got well from it previously. The second category is treatment. Now, treatments will actually kill the virus in your body, and that's what the medicines does. So, and this is an antiviral by the name remdesivir, means that it's a medication that will kill the virus. And then the third thing, which is a vaccine, is putting like dead parts of the virus in your system so you will develop those antibodies to protect you from it next time. So that you have to understand what the three things are, because giving you a shot of a vaccine is not going to help you with the infection then. It's going to help you to get it if you get it in the future, or you are exposed to that virus in the future. The treatment, the medicine, the antiviral, which this is, will help kill the virus in your body now. So that's three things that they talk about, and they talk about them all together. And I often wonder, do people really understand what they're talking about and in which sequence and what does what? And I'd be very surprised if a lot of people did understand all that, because all that is in the science. And that's why the scientists are saying one thing and the politicians are saying sometimes they get them all mixed up, and they say, you're going to treat with people think that they're going to get cured with the testing agent and all that stuff. So it's all confusing to people who are not scientists. And I think that's why usually in these sort of situations, lay people or citizens usually look to their scientists for guidance, which we've thrown that out the window in this situation. Because if the science were leading it, a lot of these things would have been in place right away. But the person who's in charge saying this is nothing that's going to go away, don't worry about it. And then by the time, he never has really understood, like, for instance, Governor Cuomo, who has an excellent understanding of all this stuff. I'm really impressed with him and how he's trying to lead his people in the right direction. But the other people down in D.C. are just running around in circles because the people that know can't say, and the people that shouldn't be saying are in front of the microphone. So that's what this is all about. So you have to understand because testing, even though it's so important, is not going to cure anybody, but it will give us numbers to let us know how bad this pandemic really is in our country. Because my perception is we have not a clue right now. And as the people that only have one or two cases, with everybody running around together, you open this thing back up, then they're going to see what New York saw. And when it happens in these small towns with one hospital, it's going to wipe out. I mean, it's going to be terrible. So, they can open them back up if they want to, but when the science, and then we're going to be saying, we told you guys this was going to happen. And everybody goes, the president, but it's not going to be, because everybody's in charge of their own place, and if you want to listen to the president over the doctors or the politician over the doctors, sure, they want to get everything going back, but is your life worth it? Right. You want to be in that 60,000 people stadium that gets wiped out. So you just need to make sure that you understand. That's why all this information is out there, but it's confusing. And who reads, which common people read medical journals and really understand what's in them? You have to rely on the scientists. And right now, the scientists aren't being listened to all the time.
At all. That's and you can bet while the numbers as bad as they look, they're worse. they're worse because there are people that they're missing. There are homeless folk that they're missing that they're not counting who died from this thing. There are people who, obviously haven't been tested. People who've died in their homes who weren't able to get in, to testing. Everything that they've thrown up, has not been so. They've said that it was just the old folks, and but they're young folks. Yeah. 5-month-old babies, and so all of this stuff is so many unknowns. I just can't imagine. I just think it's reckless at best to do some of this stuff that they're talking about. It's crazy.
Absolutely. Yeah, because like you said, it's worse as we speak than we know. Right. Because wait till they check all the nursing homes. We just found that one by accident in New Jersey where the 19 bodies were stacked up in a house in the back. And like you said, what happens if they die on a farm and it wipes out the whole family? Those people aren't getting counted, Right. So the whole thing, man, is just so sad for